Madam President, I just want to rise to congratulate the Senator from South Dakota for his amendment. This is a responsible way to approach this issue. The bill that's before us, the amendment to the bill that's before us, offered by the Democratic leadership, adds $50 billion to the deficit. That's $50 billion to the debt. That's $50 billion that our kids have to pay so that we can spend money today on politically attractive things. On top of that, the bill, as proposed, has some really onerous tax policy in it, which will significantly contract economic activity in this country by taxing people at ordinary income for activity which has historically been taxed at a capital gains rate, and thus force people to be less incentivized to go out there and be productive and create jobs. It's really poor tax policy. So the senator from South Dakota has come up with a proposal, which is the way we should be governing now. You know, we're going to have, which is to pay for things today on things we want to spend today. And, you know, we're facing a $1.4 trillion deficit. $1.4 trillion this year. Next year, we're facing an equally large deficit. And under the president's budget and the leadership and the budget of the Democratic leadership, we're talking $1 trillion deficit for as far as the eye can see. The debt of this country is going to double in 5 years under the president and the Democratic budget. Double. And it's going to triple in 10 years. A child born today at the beginning of the Obama administration arrived here in our nation with an $89,000 debt. $89,000. By the time my colleagues on the other side of the aisle get finished, should the president be reelected, under his budget, under the terms of his budget, that child's going to have a $200,000 debt to pay for. And why? Because we keep getting bills like this. $50 billion here, $100 billion here, $25 billion here. Money being spent without being paid for and therefore being added to the deficit and to the debt. It's totally wrong. It's unfair. It's unfair that one generation should do this to another generation, and it's certainly not responsible government. You know, we had a big debate in this chamber about 2 months ago now about how responsible the other side of the aisle was going to be on spending. They called it pay-go. It should have been called fraud-go. Because as a very practical matter, that's what it's become. This bill games the pay-go rules of the Democratic leadership to the tune of $50 billion by declaring an emergency on items that are not emergencies, that we know exist and that have been spent on now for quite a while. Since that bill was passed, that pay-go bill, which allegedly was going to require this Congress to pay for all the money that it was going to spend, the other side of the aisle has brought forward, or is in the process of bringing forward, $200 billion of spending which is not paid for. $200 billion of spending which will be added to the deficit and to the debt. So the senator from South Dakota, that's totally irresponsible, of course. So the senator from South Dakota, oh, I see the pay-go chart right there. The senator from South Dakota has it right, as he so often does. He has said, let's do this responsibly. If we're going to spend this money, if we're going to put forward these extenders, we're going to spend this money on these different social initiatives, let's pay for them because they benefit us today. And we shouldn't pass the bill for them on to our children tomorrow, next year, and 10 years from now. This is responsible budgeting, and I congratulate the senator from South Dakota, and I look forward with enthusiasm to finally voting for a bill around here that's paid for, which is what we should be doing every day instead of spending money we don't have and passing those bills on to our kids. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.